This is Wrestling for the Faith.
Wrestling for the Faith.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wrestling for the Faith. I'm Casey.
And I'm the co-host with the most, baby. The coach. That sounded better in my head.
That's all right.
I'm the face of radio, bro.
The face of radio. That's it. That's your new gimmick name. The face of radio, the coach.
That's it, baby.
Oh, man. For those who are close to us, you would know that this is an outstanding achievement. But Coach is sitting here with me as we record this, drinking straight black coffee.
Straight black coffee, baby.
He told me that he's finally got 3 hairs on his chest now.
So if I go off on the rabbit trail, reel me back in, buddy. That's probably this black coffee I'm drinking. No cream, no sugar.
Just black.
Straight black, buddy. I'm getting there, pal. It's kind of growing on me a little bit. Still tastes like sewage water, but it's all right. I like it.
After a little while, you kind of get used to it.
It does grow on you. I still like cream sugar, though. But anyway, I digress.
Well, it's kind of like anything, like with a diet.
Yeah.
You know, if you give yourself 3 or 4 weeks of eating healthier foods,
Oh, yeah.
you don't even have a taste really for the other stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless you put it in your mouth again.
I put it back in my
And
body.
all the time, every time, we was talking about this at KFG this past week. All the time, you end up slipping up. Dana was talking about how it's more of a mental battle than anything, and it really is.
It really is, yeah.
But so just remember, as you're drinking this, I was thinking about it today as I was eating a salad. I was thinking, from now on, when I'm eating a salad or I'm eating something that just does not sit well with me, I'm just going to say, thank you, Lord, for this amazing chicken hibachi. This, even if it is a leaf of lettuce, it's just, Lord, thank you for this this wonderful burger. And I don't know, we'll see if that works. But
This wonderful packet of tuna that we carry in our bags.
yeah, now I get into the tuna.
I get into tuna, but it kind of gets old sometimes.
It does.
Bro.
It does after a while.
So,
I've got 2 packs that I've been carrying with me everywhere that I go for about the last 2 months, and I just
Same. There's always a couple packs in my bag for work or my lunch bag, and it may be in there a month, but it's there for them hard times, baby, when I get hungry.
hard times, baby.
Yeah, throw some wrestling in there.
Yeah, hey, tuna. I don't necessarily consider tuna hard
I don't
times.
either.
Maybe
I
like,
do like it, though.
man, I'm telling you, there's some food that it is hard times. You gotta we don't need to get into that. Anyway.
All right, we trace that rabbit trail.
Yeah, we don't need to go down there. So we got any wrestling news? Have you been keeping up with any WWE stuff?
I watched a little bit.
What are they doing? Because I have not watched anything since
I gotta think now.
WrestleMania, I think.
I did watch SmackDown Friday.
Or wait a minute, wasn't there a pay-per-view? A Backlash. I think I watched some of it.
Yeah. Went a couple weeks ago, and they got one coming up this Saturday. One in
what's
Saudi
this?
Arabia.
Oh, okay.
Clash of the Champions.
Clash of the Champions? Night of Champions.
Night of the Champions, yeah.
I think they
Speaking of
should.
Clash of the Champions, I watched one today, pal. 1989, Clash of the Champions 5.
Oh, that's good stuff,
Stephen Casey versus Hacksaw Butch Reed. Buddy, you will enjoy this match, I will say that. Just basic old school wrestling. Just headlock takeover, guys working them back, working Hacksaw's the heel, working the crowd.
Yeah.
Because I remember this guy, because he's in the front row. I think they're in Cleveland, Ohio. And the guy's like, quit your crying. He's got a roll of toilet paper, one of the fans. And he's just like, and it goes to him a few times. He's like, I got something for you to cry about, Hacksaw, because he's working the crowd and the whole heel thing. It was really great to see just the old school heat on the, babyface fires back. The tree cuts him off.
Yeah.
He just goes back, working the back, working the arm. Just that's all it did, basically. There's no
Good old school stuff.
flip-flopping around. It's just So that got when I say Clash of Champions, it got me thinking about that today. Get a chance, check it out. It's really good.
I went back and watched one of my favorites. Of course, going back and watching, it's funny. You know, some people say, well, you know, what kind of matches do you study? Now, I study all kinds of stuff. And I recommend studying all kinds of stuff. Mainly for me, old territory stuff, NWA stuff, maybe here and there some old WWF stuff. But for the most part, you know, good old Crockett stuff, world class stuff, Georgia Championship Wrestling stuff, just good old school stuff. Some that people don't think about studying that I study is a lot of old Stunning Steve. So here's the funny thing, and I think you were there last week when we had the conversation with the trainees. You know, there's people who say, well, you know, Hulk Hogan, he can't wrestle. And John Cena, he can't wrestle. Steve Austin, he couldn't wrestle. No, here's the thing. If you go back and watch their stuff before they hit their glory years, you know, their independent stuff or their territory days before they made it to, you know, their stardom, you go and watch some of like Hogan and Muta, you know, Hogan stuff in Japan, you know, stuff like that. There was some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
And whether he was doing it on his own or whether these people were getting the best out of him and making him work, you know, if he wanted to, he actually could. He didn't have to a lot. He was bigger than most everybody. So, you know, same with Cena. Cena, everybody thinks of, you know, like 2005 and up. Or when was it he debuted? Basically, when he hit his stride and, you know, had his run on top for the longest. People are thinking of the jean shorts and the, you know, all he had was a 5-knuckle shuffle and a AA, you know, and that's the only thing that he had. No, if you go back and watch some early Cena, you go back and watch some of his independent stuff, his developmental stuff, he actually wore gear, and he could actually get down and do some wrestling. Steve Austin, Stone Cold, okay. These three that we have mentioned, you know, are some of the greatest of all time. Well, Stone Cold, when he hit his stride and got on top, you know, he had went through neck injuries, knee injuries, and stuff like that. But as Stone Cold, all he had to do was flip a bird, you know, punch, kick, and throw some stunners, and people were happy. But if you go back and watch some of his early stuff, and, you know, one of the match that I was getting to is one of my favorites, and I'm kind of biased because I was there. I remember it being a birthday present. My dad took me to Halloween Havoc 1991. It was just a couple of days, I believe, after my birthday in 1991. So I was like turned, what was that, 6? So, but it was Stunning Steve Austin defending the world television title against Dustin Rhodes. And, man, guys like that don't get enough credit. They could tear it up in the ring, you know. And then you go and you watch Steve's stuff with Dustin Rhodes, Steve's stuff with Brian Pillman, Steve's stuff with Ricky Steamboat. I mean, this guy, he could flat get down and go.
Yeah, he could, man. I remember watching some of that. So if I go back and watch that, was it Halloween Havoc?
Halloween Havoc 1991.
91. Can I see a young Casey Cage out there in the crowd?
Probably not.
Was you close? Was you in the middle? Was you in
I think we were in the risers. I can't remember.
If I can't spot you out there?
Yeah. Yeah. I doubt it. I've never actually looked for myself in that, but that was one of my favorites for a long time, even though it started out with one of the most awful match creations of all time. the Chamber of Horrors match. Do you remember that? Where
remember that, yeah.
Abdullah gets electrocuted and
I've seen that. Yeah.
yeah, it's a little bit hokey, but you know that as a 6-year-old, it was all right. But yeah, man, some good old Stunning Steve stuff. Of course, Flair versus Steamboat is good study material. All of those. Even if you can find older ones, I mean, as good as the trilogy was in 1989 for the world title, if you can find stuff before that, it's still great. So much. And then, of course, I love studying Terry Funk. Him and Harley Race. There was a match that I know I sent to the trainees. Told them to study. It was like nearly an hour long, and these guys were just, it's wrestling.
Yep.
You know, and that old school stuff, people don't like hearing it because they've gotten themselves busy learning how to flip, flop, and fly. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a place for it. There's a place for everything. This wrestling business is a carnival, and we're all a bunch of freaks, and we can, there's a spot for all kinds of goofy stuff. But the old school wrestling is making a comeback. Because I have been on shows recently where I've seen guys go out there and tear it up and show some amazing athleticism, and do all their flips and all this stuff, and it's all great. But then I go out and work a headlock for 15 minutes, and they only got half the reaction I did. And it's just simple stuff. Simple wrestling psychology. And it's not about me. It's just knowing that old school mentality.
Right, yeah.
So learn to work that old school style, and you will be something new to a lot of these crowds.
Yep. So, man. Just, so I do want to ask, I asked this last week was in training. I think it was Monday when I was down there. I asked you what you consider a bump. Now, we talked about it, so let's clear the air here. What do you consider a bump?
Okay, so
for those of you that may not know what a bump is, or when you say you don't like taking too many bumps anymore. So you explain it to me, but let's explain it to everybody else and see. I asked you what exactly you call a bump.
Okay,
you're taking a bump.
Well, I usually mainly just consider a flat back bump.
Okay.
Now we have several different types of bumps. You ask the guys in the training class, and they get warmed up by starting out with a routine of flat back bumps, and then flip bumps and booty bumps and face bumps and flip bumps. But anything really that lands you flat on your back.
Flat on your back.
So a body slam, a backdrop, a hip toss, a clothesline, any of those things that put you flat on your back. Now, there's some things that you will take a bump with but I don't necessarily, like an arm drag. Yeah. I consider that more of a roll.
Right.
And if you're doing it correctly, the way it's supposed to be done, you're not flipping over and selling your back. You're working the arm.
Right.
Anybody who really knows how to throw a legit arm drag, I mean, with the guy, when you grab them and you go, if the guy ain't going, you're gonna pull his shoulder out of socket.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a legit move. So I don't consider like an arm drag to be a bump. It's more of a shoulder roll,
Gotcha.
Which is another thing that we do in training.
So we clear the air there. I've always wondered. I asked you that last week in the training. So for those who may not know, what you consider a bump. Now you know.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, for any of my friends or people out there who are watching my matches and counting my bumps.
I don't count them. Let's go back. I only took 2 bumps. I said, that's good. I mean, yeah. So now I do pay attention to this stuff. I'm like, how many bumps is whoever I'm watching, I'm like, I don't see how many bumps. What you consider a bump. So I'm not counting them now. I'm like, okay, I got it.
Well, and
this guy or that guy.
Here's the thing. I look back at it, and there were so many matches over the last 20 years that I have had where I am bumping around like crazy. and really for no reason, you know. And you hear, when you're young, you hear a lot of those old guys say, hey, take care of your body. You don't have to be doing all that. You know, the way I was taught was, hey, when you learn to work, you don't have to do all that effort.
Right, yeah.
So that's something I know people don't like hearing that. Young kids in the business today don't like hearing that. But, you know, when you learn to work, it's a lot less effort, because working is not just learning how to do moves. One of the biggest things in wrestling, and we're giving away a lot of insider stuff here, but one of the biggest things in wrestling is your facial expressions, your body language, you know, the psychology that you're putting out in the match, the story that you're telling. It's not just all about the bumps. I can watch a match and see guys go in there and each guy take 20 bumps apiece in a 8 to 10 minute match. And it mean absolutely nothing. Because the thing is, you go into the ring and a lot of people can learn how to bump. Even though that's usually one of the hardest things for people to get used to.
Right.
You know, just you know, in their head. I mean, falling without protecting yourself is a really hard thing for most people to get over with. You know, you went through that. But for a lot of people, they can learn how to bump, they can learn how to run the ropes, and they can learn how to do moves. But learning to work is when you know the psychology of a match.
Right.
And you know how to tell a story in a match, and you can put it all together. Anybody can just go out there and fly around and do a bunch of high spots and do a bunch of moves. But what really gets people interested is when you tell them a story, when you hook them with something. You know, I remember every single time that I have ever worked Ricky Morton. And, you know, we worked Rock and Roll Express a few times, worked Ricky and, you know, Men Rivers. I remember doing one in Nashville where it was Ricky Morton and Chase Stevens against Men Rivers. And, you know, I've worked Robert with a different partner, but I've worked Ricky, you know, several different times. And every single time, we ain't calling a bunch of stuff in the back or nothing. The one thing that he says every time is, give me room to sell. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what your baby face does. When that heel really starts getting on that baby face, and like a simple move, like a body slam. You look at Ricky Morton, how he takes a body slam, and how when he takes it, how he sells his back. He's telling a story.
Right.
Just with that one simple move.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't give the fans time to register what's going on right now before they jump to the next thing.
Right.
They're just going move after move after move after move. Boom, 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 boom. And while it's awesome gymnastics and great athleticism, to the people, it don't mean anything.
Right.
You're out there putting on an awesome, you know, gymnastics show, but the people are not getting near as much out of it as they would if you told them a story and that bad guy started beating on their hero, and that hero is reaching out his hand toward those little kids in the crowd and saying, help me. And that, you know, he's getting sympathy from the people. And then toward the end of the match, it's time to start really firing up. Here he comes. Boom, boom, boom. Crowd comes alive. You're telling them a story. You're taking them on a roller coaster. And a lot of people don't do that anymore. People, and it goes into training. There's a bunch of people who there's a bunch of people who just train guys and they teach them how to do the simple stuff and how to do moves and say, you're ready. Mm-hmm. No, there's a lot more to this.
Right.
They need to learn psychology. They need to learn how to put together a match. They need to learn how to tell a story.
Right.
And sadly, there's a whole lot of people on the independent circuit and sadly on the big screen who they know how to do a bunch of moves, but they don't know how to tell a story. They don't know how to hook a crowd. And that's what it's really all about. And that's where it's really fun.
So that was my one wrestling question. Like I said, I'd ask you that during training to just kind of let everybody know about the bump and what you consider. Because I actually count them now. I'm like, all right, you got to like 2 bumps. We count that as a bump.
Yeah,
it's
well,
something I do that's fun now. It's like, you know.
I remember, Josh Stroop, he told on me, he texted Chad like, they were here and went to the Armory show,
yeah.
A few weeks ago, and me and David Young went out there. And when I say we did nothing, I'm not saying that we didn't work. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that we didn't have to kill ourselves.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah.
We went out there and we worked a match, and told a story. It was simple, it was easy, and we had the crowd the whole time, And Josh texted Chad, and then he told me whenever we left, he said, I think you took 2 bumps. And I said, well, that's cool. And I think David took 3, so 5 bumps the whole match, but we told a good story. We had the crowd in the palm of our hands. Just something simple.
That's what it's about, right?
Right. But anyway, you got anything else on wrestling?
No. That's,
okay.
You asked if I watched it, and I watched a little bit of SmackDown. I don't really remember what happened.
I've been meaning to
flip through it,
I've been meaning to get on Hulu and try to catch up and see what they were doing because I knew that they was having some kind of world title tournament or something, but
yeah.
I've not been paying attention to anything going on. I go through phases where I want to try to keep up with it to see what they're doing and if they're doing anything interesting, and then I get in spurts where I'm just like, I don't even care. It's just not even interesting.
Yep. I'm the same way, man.
So you mentioned to me before we pushed the old button about talking about our wives.
Yeah.
And we jab our wives on here quite a bit.
We do. And they jab us back. They get us.
They do. And since we wasn't here last week, so in honor of Mother's Day, I figure, you mentioned it, so let's talk about our wives. And I mean, I don't think that there's any place in the Bible that's better to talk about a wife than 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And I mean, Lord, there's all kinds of stuff in here that
yeah.
a lot of married couples don't know that's in the Bible.
Right.
Actually, it's just a little joke for our wives because we aggravate them from time to time about 1 Corinthians chapter 7. For anybody out there who don't know what this chapter says, and just for giggles, in case people don't know that this is in the Bible, because up until, I had been saved for probably about a year before I ever actually knew that it was in the Bible. But I'll just read a few verses here.
All right.
1 Corinthians chapter 7. Nevertheless, this is verse 2. Nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let each woman have her own husband. Let the husband render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except with consent for a time, that you may give yourselves to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. So, just a little inside joke. And once again, people close to us know that, this is kind of one of our circle things.
Yeah.
We aggravate the women whenever they're not doing, when they're not in line. We'll quote, like Ephesians 5, hey, you're supposed to submit. And then, we'll say, hey, you don't have authority over your own body, so you can't tell me
Right.
if I can or can't have some. But anyway,
Hey, they give it right back to us too, brother. So
it is. But just we don't treat our wives like property.
we do not know.
Unless, no, never mind.
We do not treat them like we're their owners, I guess. You want
Right.
that way,
But I mean, you look into this chapter, and this is honestly the way a marriage is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you think of it. There's all kinds of stuff throughout the Bible that people don't know is there. And when I've done marriage counseling with people, and I start reading 1 Corinthians chapter 7, I see people sitting there looking at each other going, that's in the Bible? No, God ain't a fuddy-duddy. He created sex.
He created man and woman for marriage.
Exactly.
Reproduce.
So, and so when you say, well, the wife don't have authority over her own body and the husband don't have authority over his own body, it goes back to what we're talking about, Ephesians 5. It says, wives, submit to your husbands.
Right.
That's pleasing to the Lord. But then it goes on to say, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church.
Yeah.
So what this chapter and Ephesians 5 and every chapter talking about marriage is talking about is a mutual surrender to one another.
Right.
That's when you're going to find happiness. That's when you're going to find peace in your marriage, when you are both mutually surrendering to one another and, living a life of submission,
Right.
to your spouse.
Yep. So we're living a life submissive to Christ. We're living a life submissive to each other because, we are one as we're married. That's something I've learned, not just the sex thing, but just the communication and there was a time where, Dana and I, and our wives are amazing. Mm-hmm. I mean, Lord, they put up with us, brothers. So we're
For a long time.
But for me and Dana, it's like, especially now, she's open about her weight loss and all this stuff. And I always told her it didn't matter.
Right.
I see you for the way I've always saw you. Mm-hmm. I loved you. I loved you then. I loved you now. It didn't matter.
Right.
About the weight. I knew what was in her heart, and I knew her love for me. But now that, and she's open about this, she sees now that she's in the process, and I know y'all notice the difference in her, just the confidence that she has now.
Yes.
It's just about communication. It's about being playful with one another, not just about sex. And
Right.
that stuff's great, but it's the little things that I always took for granted as well. Just holding hands, and I always make sure I tell her I love her before I go to work. Things like that. I've been open about this before.
Yeah.
Just things you just put on the back burner. It's like, it's there, but we can say it, and but unless we show them as well, it's just words.
Well, and that's a big key. We can say whatever we want to say, and this goes both ways.
Right.
Husband to wife, wife to husband. You can say all day long and every single day for 20 years of marriage, I love you, I love you, I love you. But if you're just doing your own thing, not showing any affection, not wanting to spend time, not wanting to hold hands, not wanting to, cuddle or any of these things that husband and wife do, if y'all are living your lives like roommates,
Yeah.
that's not a marriage.
It's not healthy either.
No, it's not. And so, it is huge to have that kind of a relationship and to not only say how we feel,
Right.
but to show how we feel. you know,
because she's open. I mean, she's very open with me. So she's seeing who I always saw in her, and who Christ always saw in her. You know, it didn't matter about the weight or anything. I mean, I'm glad, I'm grateful. She's healthier, and
right.
I mean, we're able to walk and do things that we wasn't able to do a year ago.
Yeah.
You know, so just seeing that and the confidence in her, you know, and everybody knows she does makeup, and that really helped just open. I'm just thankful for the Lord that He brought her to this place now, and man, it's way better than it ever was. I'll just be honest. We're going on 19 years of marriage this in June, so man, just so I felt we should just dedicate and just, you know, we rib them a lot, we joke around with them. They know this. Man, people probably think, man, these guys are always talking, you know, about the can't count and all this stuff.
Well, now, that's the thing, though. I mean, yeah, you know, we need to show them that we love them, but, you know, when they can't count in a kickball game that is so important, you know, I mean, we gotta call them out on stuff like that.
Right. So, you know, just... And I really thought about this from, you know, your wife, Jonna, gave her testimony on Testimony with Terry's.
Yes.
And, man, it really, just what an amazing testimony she has. And then she shares her testimony about her weight loss, and she shared with other people about other things. But, man, just to see how much they've grown,
right,
both of them, and just spiritually and the confidence they have, and, man, just the love that they, and the compassion, and Dennis, and they're always been compassionate, but it's just like, it's a whole new level, you know what I mean? It's just like, she finally, I'm speaking for my wife, Dana, that she sees who we've always known her to be, and Christ always saw her.
Exactly.
You know?
Well, and, you know, Jonna went through the same thing, where she had gained a lot of weight after the kids, and, you know, there was a time where we were all going to the gym faithfully, you know, together, and you know, she lost a lot of that weight. But then when schedules changed up and wasn't able to get there in the same routine all the time like we were before, and she started putting the weight on again, immediately that low self-esteem and you know, no confidence in her ability, and the depression, all of that sets in. And, you know, we can sit here and say, because I was about to say it, but the Lord corrected me, we can sit here and say that it's a woman thing, you know. Well, they don't, when they start gaining weight, their confidence goes, but no, that's men too.
Oh yeah.
You know, and you lose the motivation after a little bit to try to work it off.
To even try.
Right. So, but, you know, they have both set goals and lost a lot of weight and are doing good. And like you said, their confidence has come back, and they have more room now because they don't have that hanging over their head, and they don't have that conviction and that condemnation from the enemy about that part beating them down and hanging over their head. So, you know, they are able to breathe, and they are able to grow in their relationship with the Lord. And like you said, grow into who He has called them to be. And they, you know, they both are. Jonna in the last year has done an amazing turnaround, and, you know, we've talked about it on here. I think, you know, we've had the women on here and actually talked about the same situation. But, you know, for a long time, I felt like, as bad as this sounds, spiritually, I felt like I was dragging her. Like, I'm trying to go, Lord, I'm trying to do what you've called me to do, but, you know, this woman you gave me, she ain't wanting to go nowhere. She's comfortable being, you know. But now Well, I believe it was about a little over a year ago. January was a year, so January 2022 is when the Lord told me to shut up and get out of his way. And when I finally did that and understood that he knew better than me, then things just started changing in the house.
Right.
And one of those main things is her relying on the Lord and coming into who she is in Christ.
Right.
You know, and being outspoken about it, and not being afraid to share Jesus, not being afraid to talk to others and to me, because for so long there was a time where, you know, I was trying to encourage, but it actually came across as like legalism, where I was like, hey, you know, what have you read today? You got any questions? You want to talk about this? You want to study? Blah, 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 blah. You know, every evening when she'd come in. And so she felt overwhelmed. And now we can sit and talk. We can do our devotional together every night and go wherever the conversation leads, and everything's good. She is not, I'll say it this way, she's not intimidated anymore.
That's
like she used to be.
Yeah.
Because there was a time where, you know, she said that she felt intimidated by like my knowledge of the scripture, and that was never an intention.
Right.
But that's one of those things that the enemy tries to use on people. Oh, well, you don't know as much as that guy or that girl.
I've been
so
there. Yeah.
you know, but now she's comfortable, and she knows and understands that it don't matter who you are. It don't matter if you're pastor of the biggest church in the world. It don't matter if you're a homeless guy on the street. Everybody who is in Christ, we're all growing. You know, there's no graduates.
Yeah.
We're constantly learning. We're constantly growing. We're constantly, you know, moving forward, and that should be our desire. And now, you know, she has got that, and she is free in Christ, and knows she don't have that condemnation hanging over her anymore. So, praise the Lord.
Yes. I don't even go to say that she's not intimidated to be bold anymore, to
Right.
talk to other people about her own testimony.
Right.
I mean, getting on there and sharing. I know that's helped. I know people who's reached out to me and they're like, wow, what a testimony she has, and what.
Right.
You know, we've heard, we know most of the testimony, man. Of course, we've been friends forever, seems like, but family forever.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and you know, you mentioned that. I believe that is season 4, episode 10.
yes.
Testimonies with Terry podcast. You can go check it out. He's got awesome,
man.
all kinds of awesome testimonies
Got
on
some
there
great
from different
guests
people.
and great testimonies, and just how that's how good God is.
Yeah.
And what
But-
he can.
With her to share, you know, some of the stuff that she has been through, and how rough she has had it in different times in her life. And then like some of the very private things that she shared, that she always thought, I can't ever let anybody know about this.
Right.
Because, you know, even my Christian friends now, you know, they'll look down on me because if they know this.
Right.
And, but man, like you said, it's just something to help people. Everything that we go through in this life is a test that is meant to become a testimony.
That's it, man. We're just very blessed. And I know I can speak for you. How strong our wives are. Mm-hmm. I think of that old soap opera, The Bold and the Beautiful. That's my wife, The Bold and the Beautiful. And Dennis always been bold about and open about her faith.
Right.
Just the image, self-conscious, and things like that she struggled with. But man, just to see her now, and it's just amazing, and it's a blessing. It really is. You know, we joke around all the time, and We all pick on each other. That's a kingdom family.
Yeah.
If you can't take a rib,
That's
to say in the wrestling biz,
Yeah. Well,
but there's nothing. Man, you have fun too in your marriage,
right.
You know?
Our love language is aggravation.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think if Jonna and Denna, if we wasn't aggravating them,
They probably think it's math.
Yeah.
I know my wife thinks.
right?
If I'm not picking, if I'm not saying, just aggravating in a playful way, not just to get her riled up. Now, sometimes I do it just to get her riled up.
I sent her a thing the other day.
I think
that I
a
seen.
thumbs up from the coach.
Yeah, I seen something the other day on Facebook and sent it to her, and she said, "Yes, that was so you." But it said, how did it put it? I figured out that I was wrong 10 minutes ago. Now I'm just trying to make you mad, and that's always, that's always how it goes.
That's how it goes, man. So, man, we're blessed, man. And for those of you that are single or been through a divorce or whatever, going through something, man, just pray. Pray God sends you the right person. And he will. He will, It's a funny story. I'll tell you how Den and I met. Y'all know the story. But Den and I actually met on the internet. Match.com. So when we got married, the pastor said, some say it's a match made in heaven. I say it's a match made on the internet. We'll go into that story a little later next time.
Oh, man.
I just feel very blessed. And to my wife, Dana, I love her. Man, I'm thankful God really restored that part of our relationship back together. Just the oneness, of what it was meant to be, what it was in the beginning.
Exactly.
And, hey, to the next 20 years, 30, 40, ever how long the Lord keeps us here.
That's what I'm talking about. Man, I don't know where I would be without my wife.
I don't either.
It would be a lonely road, that's for sure.
Definitely be a lonely road.
And we talk about stuff from the early years. I mean, the crap that I put her through, and while I was out living my wannabe superstar lifestyle and didn't care about anybody except for myself. I mean, and she stayed. Now, she left for a little bit, just to kind of shake me. But it wasn't long, and I had her fished back in. But
well, legend has it when you saw her running them softball, man, that's it.
Yeah. So I don't know if I've ever told that. That's
I know
not
the story, but I say that's
well. Since you brought it
on
up,
the street, man.
it's so funny. So I'm like 15. Okay. I might have been. No, I'm 16. 15, 16, somewhere there. And I had rode to a softball game with my girlfriend at the time, and her mom. And this girl was on Jonna's softball team, and I didn't know Jonna at this time.
Right.
And so I'm sitting in the bleachers with this girl's mom, and I see this girl get up to bat, and she's got her helmet on, and long black hair flowing down her back, and then she hits that ball, and I see her running those bases, and as she's running the bases, I fall in love.
That's how the story goes. That's what I've heard.
It's so funny. And, we say that around the kids, and they're like, y'all are weird. But, I mean, that was like my first thing. And then, it wasn't long after that, we started dating in school, and then I was an idiot. And we talk about it and wonder how things could have turned out if, we would have just stayed that whole time.
Right, yeah.
But, and I aggravate her about it. She had to go through some pretty rough times after we split up, and I wasn't ready for any serious relationship at that time. But I've always told her, if you'd have just stayed with me, you wouldn't have to go through so much hell. Mm-hmm. And she, and Terry texted me the other day after they recorded and after her podcast aired, and he said he was started mentioning some of the stuff that she was talking about, and I said, yeah, I always told her, if she would have just stayed with me from the beginning in high school, then she wouldn't have had to go through all that hell. And he said, yeah, well, I hope that she knows to listen to you from now on.
So one thing you mentioned that, and I know y'all do this, 'cause I do this. Me and Dana do this with Riley Boy. Yeah, we try to gross him out as much as we can.
Yes,
just by being playful with each other. Nothing, we're married, so we're talking about this right now. So
right.
Just like the other day, Dennis like, we'll let Riley drive me. You just sit in the back, make out. And Riley's like, oh, gross. I'm like, hey, that's how you got here, pal. How you think you got here, man? When a man loves a woman.
When a man loves a woman.
That's it, man. And I go around singing all the time, too, just to aggravate Riley. He said, I don't want to. Hey, we're married.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing. For anybody out there listening.
It's fun, too.
It is. For anybody out there listening, once, our kids are... in their teenage years now. One's almost a teen. Dear Lord, time flies.
Yeah.
But anyway, once we had to sit down and have the talk with them,
right.
And parents, this may be something, if you have not done this, I mean, as much as we hate to think about that stuff, kids are learning stuff.
Would you rather
much
tell
earlier
about it than
right.
the world tell them about it?
I mean, that's, our kids come home and started asking us questions of some very vulgar things for like 9-year-olds
right.
at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And we was like, what does this mean? What does this mean? And I'm like, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
So we decided, okay, well, time to get the Bible out and show them what sex and everything is, from a biblical point of view. But back to what we were talking about, once we have had the talk, it has been so fun.
It's fun, man.
To gross the kids out.
Yeah.
And to just make little comments, when they come knocking on the door. I'm coming in. You better not.
Yeah, we're always ribbing Riley and stuff like that, Riley boy. So it's fun, man. We enjoy it. It makes the marriage even that more funner.
That's
better. better.
That's right. Proverbs 18:22.
Yeah.
Says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. So, thank you to our wonderful wives. Sorry, I just started reading and started thinking about some other ones, but there's he who finds a wife finds a good thing, and then there's also proverbs that talk about it's better to dwell on the housetop instead of in a house with a contentious woman.
There's a lot of proverbs about
So find a good. There it is. Proverbs 21:9. Better to dwell in a corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. So, better, verse 19 of chapter 21, better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. Mm-hmm. So, men, get off your butt and start making your woman happy.
Yeah.
Don't live with no communication and live a miserable life.
That's very key.
So,
been there, I've done that, and it's way better when you communicate, talk to each other, love each other, as Christ loves you. Christ loves the church.
Don't be afraid to share your feelings.
That's it, man. Oh, we tough guys, right? We don't want to do that stuff. Yeah, I don't want to talk about
Right.
it. Yeah, you better.
Yeah.
Better talk about it.
The more you let your inside imposter overtake
That's it.
you, the more miserable you're going to be in life.
That's a good way to put it, man.
Learn to be tender, learn to love the Lord with all your heart, and to love your wife as Christ loved the church, and enjoy the relationship with your wife, because me and you are best friends, but your wife is supposed to be
Oh, yeah.
your number one best friend, and you should be able to talk to them. You should be able to open up and share your feelings and have this kind of communication. You should be able to open up and have conversations about things that you're struggling with.
Right.
You should be able to just be an open book.
That's it, man.
And once you come to that place where you're an open book and y'all are fine sharing things with each other, man, the relationship is so much better, so much easier, instead of feeling like, I know there's been times in the past where I have, struggled with something and, tried to keep it hid because I didn't want to feel weak. I didn't want to talk to my wife about it because I didn't want to feel weak. I just wanted to deal with it myself and overcome this stuff by myself. But she's your helpmate. Mm-hmm. She's supposed to be there to help you, to pray for you, to pray you through, and to build you up. And we are supposed to do the same thing for them.
Yes.
So we should be able to be an open book with each other and share our lives, share our feelings, share our struggles, and help each other through. That's what this marriage thing's all about.
That's it, man. Good stuff, brother.
Yes, sir. So, since we missed it last week, happy Mother's Day to our wonderful and beautiful wives. Happy Mother's Day to our wonderful mothers, and all of you mothers out there, all of you wives out there who have such an amazing you do such an amazing job that most of the time you don't get enough credit for.
That's it, man. Most definitely.
And thinking about it, I believe, me and Chad did mention something about Mother's Day a couple of weeks ago, but when you mentioned this, it made me think, I don't remember saying much about that on that episode.
Yeah. I had to work Mother's Day, so Dan and I, we always try to do something, we'll just go out to eat or take her out to eat or whatever. But I tell her every day I love her. Not just on Mother's Day. Tell your wife that you love her. Communicate with her.
Show her that you love her.
Yeah.
And wives, show your husbands that you love them.
It goes both ways. Yes, it does.
That's right. And always remember, you don't have authority over your own body.
Hey, you gotta get that last rib in there.
That's what I'm talking about. All right, everybody. We love you. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Wrestling for the Faith. Don't forget to follow Casey Cage on Twitter at @RealCaseyCage. Follow Chad Lale on Twitter at CWLale_Gunner. And follow the show at Facebook.com/WrestlingForTheFaith.